Hey, everybody. It's John Halpin. That's Josh Katzowitz. Welcome to the Friday edition of Pickwatch Live. For those watching it later, we're recording it a little after 7 o'clock Eastern on Friday. We're going to make our picks. Josh, how's it going? How was Athens?
Good. Oh, man, it was great. I'm still recovering.
Yeah.
It was great. I'm sick. I got sick off of it, like sore throat and all that stuff, but hey, it was worth it to see a bunch of buddies I hadn't seen in a long time. So
You got sick? What the heck? Was it screaming at the game or what?
No, there wasn't much to scream about. Georgia played really well against Auburn.
Yeah.
I think one of my buddies brought something up from Savannah or something like that, some kind of disease, and now I've got it.
Some kind of disease.
Some kind of sore throat disease or something.
Okay.
I don't know the technical term for it. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I'm not a doctor.
You're not a doctor. Yeah, you're not a doctor. You play one on TV and on web video, but you're not a doctor. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Friday edition. So I'm doing a few things, trying to tweet it out and all that. And sorry about the darkness down here. The sun is coming up, so I've decided to go with the natural light rather than the light overhead. So hopefully that'll go okay. So Packers Seahawks. Packers lose 27-24. 4th and 2 on your own 33 with 4 minutes left, down 3 points. And Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. You punt, Mike McCarthy? You punt?
I guess they thought the defense was going to hold them. That was kind of a strange call because you got to figure at 4th and 2, Aaron Rodgers is going to hook you up, even though that pass he threw on 3rd down was right in the dirt. I don't know. I guess he has some faith in his defense. That really wasn't. I don't know why he had the faith, because Russell Wilson had played pretty well, and Packers hadn't really shown in the last half or so that they could stop him.
Right. Yeah, I don't know about that. Like, I know it was in his own territory. We had one timeout left. I mean, what's going to happen if you trust your defense? You trust your defense at that end of the field too, I guess. At that point,
yes, but they weren't even close. I mean, the Seahawks they knew the rush was coming, I'm sure, and the Seahawks just rushed the ball down their throat in that last few minutes, and it wasn't even. I mean, Packers had no chance. It didn't seem like with the running game or with to turn the running game.
So anyway, all right. So we both had. This was a popular pick.
Because it's really good. Yeah.
73% of the experts had Seahawks against the spread. Most of us had it at 2.5, so we were good. You and I both had it. So we start the week 1-0. It's not too shabby.
It's funny how that it's the spread's 2.5 and that it ends up at 3. That happens so much, man. It's crazy how often that happens, you know?
Yeah, I know. So that one worked out. I'm going to go to the against the spread page on Pickwatch.com. Let's see. Yeah, there was not a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of pushes. Not a lot of Packers. Like I said, it was 73% was the Seahawks. So people got that one. All right. So
right now, it looked pretty good for Green Bay. For a while there, it looked pretty good for them.
It did look. They started off great.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the game, I'm watching. I'm going, oh, no, I missed this one.
I know. Me too.
It did look good from the start. Overall against spread, Ryan Fowler's in 9th place. I'm in 29th. You're in 32nd. Last week, I think I was 7-6. You were 5-8. So we're going to bounce back this week. A lot of games. We disagree on about half the games this week. I looked ahead, and that's what we got. So we're going to talk about a lot of that stuff. I don't know if there's any picks that you're going to say I'm crazy about. We have that. There's one. I forget which one it is. We'll get to it. There's one I think you're crazy about. Remember a few weeks ago, I made a pick. I think I picked the Bears against the Patriots, and you were like, I don't even know what you're saying right now.
Probably the Broncos.
I think it might be the Broncos.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that in a little bit. New things. We have team pages, so you can see how the teams have done against the spread. This show becomes an audio podcast. We actually have we loaded on a thing called Podbean, so wherever you're listening, we're going to be on Spotify and iTunes soon if we're not there already. But you're going to be able to listen to these podcasts on audio, so if you're not watching, you want to take it on the phone, it's audio friendly, so you can do that as well. Again, we have this show Thursday or Friday. Usually Friday mornings is when we're going to do it from now on. Ryan Fowler and I do Tuesday morning, and I'm here at 11:45 a.m. Eastern on Facebook on Sunday going over the inactives and all that kind of stuff. Other than that, Josh has his weekly column. We're going to touch. He talks about 3 games. We're going to touch on each of them here when we get to them. But that's up on NFLPickwatch.com right now. And as always, you can make your own picks, track everybody else's. Again, NFLPickwatch.com if you're not there already. We have more than, let's see. I'm going to go and see how many people are making picks at NFLPickwatch.com. You know what? Why don't we do screen share? Since I like doing that. All the objectionable material, as I say with Ryan, all the objectionable material is off my computer now. Don't have to worry about.
Got to be careful with that.
Yeah. All right, let's see what we got here. We have got NFL. We've got fan straight up picks. I put Mitchell Trubisky. That's a sign. I put Mitchell Trubisky in our plug for the podcast. There's a picture. Oh, man. Straight up picks 80. We got 4,000 people doing this? Awesome. Right. Love it. So, folks, missing out. You can check everybody else's picks. And as we talk about, sometimes contrarian picks help. You can see how many people are picking things. So, anyway, check it all out, NFLPickwatch.com. Let's get to the Week 11 games. Bye weeks. Bills, Browns, Dolphins, Patriots, Jets, 49ers. A lot of teams off. You fantasy owners, set your lineups properly, please. Everyone hates a guy who leaves someone in during a bye. Panthers, Lions. Let's start here with my Carolina Panthers. Let me see if the line has changed. We've got it at the spread at 4 with the over-under at 52. I see a 4.5 in one spot. The over-under has gone down to about 50 in some spots. So this one's dropping a little bit. So you're going to have to keep an eye on that. And there's an interesting thing here. The over-under's dropped from 52 to either 50 or 49.5. Panthers have been over in 6 of their last 8. Lions have been over in 7 of their last 10. Lion defense not playing well, as we saw last week. Panthers defense has been a little shaky. I think over might be a decent play here. The Lions, they were terrible. Every week, they're one of those teams that I say, I don't know who they are. I don't know what to make of them. And I said for the Lions from the beginning, I think their average may be slightly below. Well, maybe more than slightly. They're just not good, and they're struggling. And now Marvin Jones might not play, and they already traded Tate. So Kenny Galladay's going to be all by his lonesome in the passing game. I know Kerryon Johnson's been running well. On the other hand, Panthers 1-3 on the road, not playing well. They're the only road game they won was that miracle comeback against the Eagles in the fourth quarter. They got torched last Thursday night by the Steelers. Maybe you throw that out. You don't think it's an anomaly. You have this as your bet your life savings game, though.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with the Lions. I think I'm like you. I kind of wondered about whether or not what they were, because every week it seems like they're a different team. But I think we've seen the last 3 weeks that we know what they are now. They're not good. Right. And they played some solid teams. I mean, they played the Vikings, they played the Seahawks, they played the Bears, and those are all pretty solid teams they've lost. Carolina's in that same kind of pantheon of being the solid or better. And at this point, the Lions haven't shown any kind of ability to beat those solid or better teams, at least not for a while. I really, we talked about this a lot in the last couple of weeks. The Golden Tate trade seems to have changed everything for the team. And I don't know if it's a mentality thing, like we've traded away one of our captains, one of our leaders, and now we're kind of folding. And maybe that's a little too simplified, but I think there is something to, like, you trade away a guy like that, and the season just kind of goes in the crapper. And Detroit hasn't been able to pull it out yet. And I really think at the end of the year, we're going to look at that trade and say that wasn't good for this season anyway.
But then they traded for Damon Harrison. So it was kind of like it wasn't a give-up trade, but Tate's a good player, so it wasn't necessarily we're going to get better now trade. It was weird, right? I think it was after they made the Harrison trade that they did.
It was the week after. That was why it was so weird, because they were trading to get better.
Right.
And traded to get worse, it seemed like. And Matt Patricia just hasn't instilled any kind of confidence the way it's a small thing, but when he talks about, when he kind of scolds the media for not asking a question.
Sit up straight, Josh.
In a respect, I'm not sitting up straight. And then that's like when you worry about stuff like that as a first-year coach, you're like, well, you should be worried about something else. You should be worried about beating the Vikings or the Bears or the Panthers, and you're worried about somebody kind of slouching. It's just kind of stupid, and this is just distracting. And I think that's kind of what a lot of the seasons have been like that so far.
He's deflecting. I tell my kids, I think my kids do that. Something you deflect, you're in trouble for one thing, and you sort of, raise another issue over there. That's what he did, I thought. So did you see the pictures of their practice yesterday or the day before?
No, I didn't see them.
So there's pictures of them practicing in the snow, right? Their next 4 games are indoors. There are 3 at home and 1 at Arizona, and he's got them practicing out in the snow. Why? Why would you do that?
When I working in Cincinnati for a while, and seeing they're the most northern team that doesn't have a practice facility. So every November, December, they'd be practicing in the freezing cold and the snow, and you're like, well, that sucks. And then occasionally they would bust to the University of Cincinnati, who actually does have an indoor practice facility, but you'd say, well, that kind of stinks. But then again, they don't have a practice facility, no matter whether you think that's being cheap or whatever. When you have a practice facility and you're not using it, that sounds pretty silly to me.
Yeah. All right, so you're done with the Lions.
I think so, man. I mean, look at their schedule too. The Panthers got the Bears again. They got beat by the Bears last week. They got the Rams. So the next 3 games are tough. They could be at 3-9, and then they're really done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doubting the Panthers just off the Steelers game, but I look and I go, oh, the Giants they barely snuck out of that one, and the Eagles they barely snuck out of that one. So they're kind of on the fence where, you know, a little break they could have gone a little better, and a little break they could have gone a little worse. But I think they take care of business in this one. I think they bounce back. I think they're strong. You know, maybe the 4th best team in the NFC. I think they're with a solid, you know, effort. And I think covering it. I don't love this one, but I like it. You love it, like you said. It's your bet, your life savings game. So
yeah, and I got burned last week with the Falcons and Browns. I really thought the Falcons really surprised me at how badly they played. That was my bet your life savings. So hopefully you didn't actually do that, and you still have some life savings left, so you can bet this week on the Panthers, because I think they're going to roll. Yeah,
I've got the Panthers too. Right now on NFLPickwatch.com, 72% of the experts like the Panthers given the points, and 78% of the fans like the Panthers given the points. So we're in unanimous agreement. Not unanimous, but close to it. And you always do make the disclaimer, don't bet your life savings, really.
Don't really do it. I'm just right. It's a fun game, but you have that mentality like, I'm going to bet it all here. and to be fair, my record for bet your life savings game is pretty good.
It is.
I think I'm like 7-2 straight up, and like, yeah, it's really good. So that's at least in this specific instance, I know what I'm talking about, sort of.
All right, Cowboys Falcons. You mentioned the Falcons. So I said earlier in the week. Right now, the spread is 3. Let's check the updates. We've got the Falcons favored by 3. With an over-under 40. I saw 48. I see 48.5. I see the spread at 3.5 in a couple of places. So depending on what you're shopping for, you can get a little extra if you want the Cowboys. But I saw this, and I thought the spread was low. I think the Falcons are a better team than the Cowboys. And normally the rule of thumb is, hey, we're going to give the home team 3 points. So this tells me that the perception is that they're evenly matched, and I don't think they're evenly matched. And I think I'm looking at this game, and Falcons going to get Deion Jones back, which is a really, really big addition. They're most likely going to get him back, it sounds like. I think they're going to just beat the Cowboys' heads in.
I sort of think that too. I think the only thing I worry about with this game is the Falcons' run defense isn't that great. They're 21st in the league in yards allowed, 28th in rushing touchdowns allowed, and 31st in yards per carry allowed. And obviously with the Cowboys, that's basically their offense is their running game. And we saw last week Ezekiel, it's still, even if you're putting tons of guys in the box against him, he can still do some damage. So that would be my only concern for this game. Maybe that's one reason why that spread is maybe a little lower than you think. And plus, when you go to the Browns and you lose like that and get pounded on like that in a team that's in disarray, not great.
No.
But that loss really disappointed me for the fact. They needed to start. They were playing well. They'd won their last 3 games, and to go into Cleveland like that with a chance to go over 500 in that division and really kind of solidify themselves as going after that second wild card spot. They come out and played poorly like they did, and Matt Ryan played well, but the rest of the team just kind of sucked, and that's really disappointing. I think they still have a chance. They need to bounce back this week, but I wonder if those 2 things, the mediocre run defense and the way they played last week, really kind of factor into that spread this week.
All right. Other things in this game: Cowboys, Zach Martin, Tyron Smith. Limited at Thursday's practice. Otherwise, let's see. Cowboys 1-4 on the road, not great. The over/under, by the way, 48.5. 4 of the Cowboys' last 6 have been over. 6 of the Falcons' last 8 have been over. So we both like the Falcons here, and I don't have a lot of doubt. Right now, we are looking at 70. See, I hate when I see this. 76% of the experts like the Falcons with giving the points. 71% of the fans like the Falcons giving the points. A little more than I'd like. I don't like being with the cool kids on picks this much. That's 2 in a row. So the Seahawks makes it 3 in a row, actually. So even though that one worked. All right, Bengals, Ravens. AJ Green out again. All right, the quarterback intrigue with the Ravens is interesting because Joe Flacco's got a hip injury. The Ravens are being cagey. They're not telling us. We're doing this Friday morning. If you're not watching live, we don't know who's going to play. Ravens are being cagey. Flacco's got a hip injury. Lamar Jackson missed Thursday's practice. Sounds like he's got a stomach issue. So it's not, it added to the intrigue. I was watching, RG3 was the guy taking the snaps in Thursday's practice. I was watching Ian Rappaport on NFL Network on Thursday, and he hinted that, well, there's some frustration with the Ravens that Lamar Jackson might not be has not progressed as much as they had hoped to this point. And he kind of said, look, if you told me Sunday morning that RG3 is going to start, I wouldn't be that surprised. So now what? What do I do with this game, which has odds makers are kind of laying off here. We have got, what we got here? Hold on, I'm looking it up. Come on, where is this game? All right, sorry people, I hate technical difficulties.
Last I saw,
the line's off right now.
We had Bengals at 4.5.
Yeah, we have 4.5. I'm looking. ESPN has a nice page that gathers spreads from Westgate, Caesars, William Hill, The Win, and Unibet, and the line's off. The Unibet has 4, has Ravens by 4. The over-under's off, the line's off. So, what do you do here? If RG3 starts, what do you think?
I don't think it's good. You know what? I think the solution here is easy. Just go with Cincinnati. There's not much there's not much to know. We don't have a whole lot of film on Lamar Jackson as a quarterback. Nobody does, obviously. So I think if he does play, that kind of inexperience goes against the Ravens. On the other side, you could say, well, there's not much film. It's going to be hard to defend. I don't know. I think the Bengals against the Ravens, it seems like the Bengals really has the Ravens number. Whereas we talk about the Bengals versus Steelers. The Steelers always seem to have the Bengals number. In this AFC North game, it looks like the Bengals have the Ravens number. That's the way it seems to me. So I think you don't need to overthink this.
Yeah.
I think the Bengals are going to win, and they're going to obviously cover the spread. And I think you don't need to think about it. It doesn't matter. If Flacco's playing, if Lamar Jackson was playing, if RG3 is playing, I'm just going with the Bengals, all 3 of those options. So for me, it's easy.
See, I'm not. Well, but the thing is, I don't know with 4.5, I probably will too. Right now, my pick is in. As of Friday morning, my pick is in with the Ravens. You got to wait for the news to make a decision on this game. I'm literally telling everybody I don't know who I'm picking yet. I'm going to wait.
But this game does scare the hell out of me, which is in my column. Because it's so unknown. I think if RG3 starts, the Bengals are going to be praising the heavens. Like, that's a great thing. If Lamar Jackson can start, it's more difficult, I think, for Cincinnati. But either way, I like Cincinnati here.
All right. I'm going to hold off on this game. So let's wait and see. Next up.
People have to tune in on Sunday morning to see what you actually do.
I know, really. And check out NFLPickwatch.com because really without knowing, literally in the situation where it could be one of 3 quarterbacks, I don't want to commit yet. And you shouldn't either. How
do you practice like that? How do the Ravens practice without really knowing? I guess it's
RG3. It was RG3 yesterday because he was the only one available.
Yeah, so that doesn't talking about game preparation. That's a really bad thing for Baltimore not really knowing.
Right. All right. Next up, Josh. Here's what I'm going to do. I have got, in case anyone sees that side of my head, I have sunlight blaring.
Just put sunscreen on today, John. You look like you need some sunscreen.
I'm actually going to block that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tee you up to talk about Steelers Jags. Then I'm going to walk away for a few seconds so I can block that, and I'll be back. So I'm going to turn it over to Josh. You're going to see a blank screen on my side for about 60 seconds, and I'll be back. Anyway, Steelers Jags. Steelers by 5.5 at Jacksonville. Line is 46.5. It started at 6.5, down to 5.5 right now. Over under. I see 46.5. I see 47. So where we had it earlier in the week, it sounds about right. Steelers have won 5 straight. Jags have lost 5 straight. You can tell everybody what you think of where these teams are going, and I will catch up when I get back. I'll be right back, Josh.
Obviously, I think these teams are going in 2 different directions. Steelers have been really good, one of the best teams in the AFC, and the Jaguars have been a huge disappointment this year, especially in the last 5 games. That they're a team who've given up 40 points a couple times, a team that has no quarterback play. That's worth a damn. Pittsburgh has been really impressive. I mean, the last 4 games, they've gained at least 395 yards on offense, and at the same time, defensively, they've given up no more than 275 yards. This is a pretty easy game for me. Even though it's at Jacksonville, Pittsburgh has played really well, and I think it's time to kind of look at Pittsburgh and say they're one of the teams that can win the AFC, the entire thing. I think what's interesting, and maybe I'll talk with John about this when he comes back, is moving on from Le'Veon Bell. And I wonder what kind of – and like John, I'm talking about Le'Veon Bell here and what that means. We know now that he's not going to play for Pittsburgh this season. I think that's probably a relief on some level.
Yeah.
Bell's you know what the news reports of when he didn't come to the locker room, and the news reports of the team like pilfering through his locker and taking
they were looting. I don't say looting.
They were, yeah. I mean, you know, on the face of it, you're like, boy, that's not very nice. Like, this is a teammate. They can't be just taking his stuff. And I do feel like I wouldn't look at that and tell my kids like, hey, this is okay to do that. I don't think that's right on that level. But at the same time, you wonder, is that like some kind of team building exercise? Is that some kind of like letting off some steam there at kind of this 9 or 10 week or 11 week? Actually, it's been more than 11 weeks. It's been like months and months of drama with Bell here. Is he going to show up? Is he going to report? Blah, 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 blah. I wonder if, as kind of on the surface, it looks so like shady to do stuff like that. If it's like a team building exercise. And I think some of the Steelers said, yeah, this was good to like kind of let it go. And in this game, in this context, I don't think it matters because I think the Steelers are going to beat the Jaguars pretty easily. But at the same time, but for the rest of the season, you wonder like, okay, now the Steelers can officially move on, be done with Bell, and they played great without him. You know, now he's not. Now he's in the rearview mirror. Move on, and I wonder if that's a good thing for them.
All right, I don't agree with you that they're going to beat the Jaguars easily. I'm not ready to give up on the Jaguars.
And they've stunk lately, dude.
Coming home. I know they've stunk lately. They really have. You're right. They're coming home. Fournette's playing. He played okay. I mean, they didn't run well last week. That's for darn sure. But I don't know. They're getting A.J. Bouye back. That's nice because they're going to need it to deal with the Steelers, those 2 monster receivers that the Steelers have. I don't know. I feel like this is one of those – I don't want to write this team off to the point. I know they've been struggling. If they lose, I tend to think they're not going to get thumped. I tend to think it'll be close. And I think they could win. I mean, the defense is – I mean, there's still talent there. I know they haven't played that well. But there's you know, these two – if Bouye's healthy, their 2 corners are still very good. There's a lot to like on the defense, you know, talent-wise, and maybe they can bounce back to some point. But at home, I just feel like this is a lot to give them, a lot of points to give.
Who are you picking straight up?
Steelers. I wanted to pick the Jags, and I chickened out because I don't like them that much. It's not like one of those underdogs that I love. That's one that I sort of like.
Well, it started at 6.5. Right now, it's down to 5.5. So. Yep.
Okay, we are at on Pickwatch 62% Steelers giving the points. That's from the experts. 76% fans giving the points.
Yeah.
So they're with you. Everybody's with you. I'm different. I'm being different on this one. That's what I like.
Different also sometimes means you're a loser.
That's pretty true. Happens a lot. All right, Titans and the Colts. By the way, I mentioned Ryan the other day. I love the schedule this week. There are a lot of sneaky good games, and this is one of them. It's at Indy. Colts are favored by 2. Over under, I think, still 48.5. Let's check it out. 49. We're up to 49. And I see a 1.5 in a couple of places. If you're interested in the Colts, you can get a better deal than 2. So Andrew Luck hasn't been sacked in 4 straight games. Did you see the Quentin Nelson clip the other day?
Yeah.
With him running people over and yelling, which supposedly they dubbed in audio, which disappointed me. But these are good. These teams are both kind of on the rise here. They're both playing pretty well.
Yeah. You know what the Titans did last week against the Patriots was really impressive. And I didn't. This wasn't one of my marquee games in my column, but I led with Tennessee. I led the store with Tennessee, and why I think that they've won 2 in a row. So not a huge winning streak or anything, but Tennessee is always one of those teams that, at least in the past couple of years, you don't really see them coming.
Right.
And we're to the point now in the season where they're coming. And
you know, saw them coming last week? Me. That's who saw them coming.
Did you have them did you have them again?
Straight up.
Oh, that's right. That was a good pick. That was a really good pick.
Yeah, I always joke around like, I don't get everything right, but I got one, so that's good.
You got one, and they beat up. I mean, they beat up the Patriots, and I didn't see that coming. So I should have put in my column that John saw this coming, but no, not many other people did. And now they're 5-4. They're fighting for that division. Marcus Mariota has played really well the last couple of weeks. Which, looking back at his stats, and he's got a passer rating of at least 119.9 the last 2 games. He's never done that in his career. Put those games back to back, which seems insane. Yeah. But because a couple years ago he did have he had like 4 or 5 really good games, but they were never back to back. So you have to wonder now that he's healthier, if he's a guy who can now kind of move up in the echelon of quarterbacks of being an average or better, which before he's always been average or worse.
Right.
The Colts' pass defense isn't very good, so I think maybe he'll have a chance to do some damage there. And I like the Titans are peaking right now. It seems like, and this is a pretty decent time to be peaking.
Yes, I think we both had the Titans here. I like them both. I just like the Titans a little more. And I still look at those Colts wins, the last 3 wins, and 2 of them were Bills and Raiders. So it's like, okay, I get that they're getting better, but I maybe need a little more convincing than this. So, I mean, I like them both. It's a tough game to pick for me, to be honest. At Indy, but yeah, I'm going with the Titans. And so
2.5 though. I think, I don't know. Once I saw, I'm pretty comfortable with that spread with the Titans at plus. Was it plus 2.5? You said?
Yeah, +2.
+2. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that from a Tennessee perspective.
Okay, so we've got on Pickwatch, 57% of the experts like the Colts to cover. 51% of the fans. This is, like I said, tough game. Everybody seems to the masses seem to agree because we can't agree on the actual game. Okay, Texans Redskins. Texans favored by 2.5. Let's see what the over/under is. I had it at 42.5. Let's see if it's changed. Actually, I see a 3-point spread in a lot of places. We've got it at 2.5 on NFLPickwatch.com. Everywhere else right now seems to have it at 3, so you're going to keep an eye on that. Over/under 42.5 is still accurate. The Redskins, they played a good the game last week. They won 16-3, and we were talking last Thursday about the Redskins having, they're down 3 starters on the offensive line, and Chris Thompson was out, and Crowder's still out, and it's a big mess. And the Bucs have been playing well, and this just looked like a bad spot for the Skins. And then the Skins go and they win 16-3, and you go, oh, right, their defense is really good. They gave up 501 yards to the Bucs. The Bucs just shot themselves in the foot with turnovers. I mean, it was, Fitz threw 2 interceptions. I know Rodgers fumbled. I forget if there are any more, but it was a self-inflicted wounds there. And the Skins still can't score. I mean, scoring 16 at Tampa, not great, because the Bucs defense is terrible. So I'm still not – I know the Skins have surprised me this year, and there have been times I probably need to check the team page and look at the record because I feel like I've missed on them a lot. I'm still I'm not confident here. I think they're playing a much better team. I think those offensive line issues were not able to be exploited by the Bucs, but they're going to be able to be exploited by the Texans.
I'm looking over the takeaway difference here. Washington is second in the league in turnover ratio. They're plus 11. So they take care of the ball. And we talk every week I talk about Alex Smith. And last week was like the perfect Alex Smith game. I think he was I wrote it down. He was like 19-27 for 178 yards and 1 touchdown, but no interceptions. Just a guy who's kind of game managing the game and stuff. And that I didn't expect that to happen last week because I thought the Buccaneers offense was going to really make it difficult for them. And something about the Redskins this year, I don't know. I tell you every week, I think the Texans, this winning streak is, I don't want to say it's garbage, but it's I listen to the CBS podcast quite a bit, and so I don't want to. I'm taking it from what they say. It's like they always talk about this is the worst 6-game winning streak I've ever seen them in sports history.
Who is that? Prisco and Brinson and those guys?
Brinson and like Ryan Wilson and some of those guys, some of my old buddies from CBS. Okay. But they talk about that every week, and I think it's kind of true. It's like there's nothing. It doesn't seem like there's anything dominant about this Texans team. It's crazy that these are two first place teams that we're talking about. So it should be. It doesn't really feel like that kind of like first place real good matchup.
Right.
But I don't know. There's something about the Redskins. I think that they've won 4 or 5. They're just a team that's going to score like 20 points a game, and their defense is going to give up like 14 or 17 points a game, and they're going to win. And that's just that's been the pattern for the last 6 or 7 weeks, and
yeah,
I think it kind of continues this week.
Interesting. By the way, I do think their offense. One negative to them, I think their offense changes. I know Demaryius Thomas he's a professional receiver and solid. Them losing Will Fuller changes things because he's a different kind of guy.
Yeah, for sure. That
can stretch the field more. To your point about this, about the type of game this could be, both of these teams have been under in 4 of their last 5. The over-under 42.5, so it's really low. But I don't think that one scares me away. I mean, this seems like 20-17 or something like that.
Yeah, I'd definitely take the under for sure.
Yeah. So I still kind of like Texans just because I think the Redskins are so banged up that it's going to catch up to them, and especially their offense. So I've got Texans. You've got Redskins. Right now we have got on the expert side, 67% of the experts are with me and the Texans. 71% of the fans are with me and the Texans. So whatever, you take that however you like. Okay. Bucks Giants. Spread's 1.5. Let's check the update on that. Over under, still 1.5. I see 2 at Caesars. I see 1 at William Hill. Over under 52. The Giants. Do you buy into the? I mean, we've talked about this before, and usually it's when a team goes on the road. This one, they're coming home. Do you buy into the short week? I mean, the Giants played Monday night at San Francisco, so their plane landed at probably 8 o'clock Tuesday morning, and they're from a cross country trip, and they're back to work Wednesday morning. That's tough. That's a tough week.
Yeah, no, it is a tough week. Yeah, especially on the West Coast. I mean, I think the travel does play a huge role. And we talk about all the time on the Thursday night games. That plays a huge role for Thursday night games. But yeah, I mean, I think a little more underrated than that is going from Monday night to Sunday night. And yeah, the Giants are at home, but like you said, having to make that cross country trip, that's a long trip.
Right.
And yeah, even though the Giants pull off a win last week, yeah, it's tough, especially when you get into week 11 of the season, week 12, week 13. Yeah, I mean, I buy into that the body just it's hard for the body to recover.
Right. The Bucks I mentioned last week, so 501 yards and 3 points. That's a rough outing. But they did mention in the Redskins offense I talked about before. They did hold them to under 300 yards, so not bad. And the Giants, look, we're a little more optimistic than last week about the Giants because they actually won a game, but on the road. But let's remember they beat a bad team with a third-string quarterback. It's I don't love them. It's nice. It beats losing, but I don't know. This is a tough one for me. I'm leaning the Giants just because I don't like the Bucs defense either. I could go either way on this.
Yeah, well, it's the offensively. Yeah, they put up lots of yards that the Buccaneers do, but they have at least 2 turnovers every game since week 1. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. And in 4 of those games, they've had 4 turnovers. So they don't do a good job of taking care of the ball, which is a problem, obviously. Yeah. I still think Fitzpatrick is a better option than Jameis Winston at this point. I'd rather see him start. I don't know. What do you think? Would you rather have starting if you're a Tampa Bay fan? Fitzmagic or Winston?
At this point, what are they, 3-6?
Yeah.
I would start Jameis.
Yeah.
I'd see if we could fit, because your season's you're not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
You want Jameis back next year or not? Because you got to, it's not tag. I think they can tender him. I don't know the exact contract situation, but they can bring him back next year, or they can sign him to an extension, and they sort of have to figure that out. I mean, Fitzpatrick is a short-term solution, and I understand you got a locker room full of guys who want to win, but I don't think Fitz is that much better than Jameis. You look at. I don't know if he's better than Jameis at all. I know Jameis had that horrible game in Cincinnati, threw 4 picks, and it was just a disaster. And I could imagine the guys on the team were like, "Oh my God, get this guy out of here." But I think you got to. I think the rest of the way you got to ride that out, and I don't want to say see what you got because you've had him for 4 years, but see if some of this is the problems are fixable, and try to help get more data on whether you want to move forward with him or not.
I still think you're not out of the playoffs yet for Tampa Bay. You got New York and San Francisco the next 2 weeks, both of which are winnable games. They probably should win both those games. And then you got Carolina and New Orleans, so 2 division rivals. So they'll be big underdogs in the Panthers Saints games, but they have a chance, I think. And I think maybe next week if they lose to the Giants, then you go back to Winston and say, okay, well, we're done with Fitzpatrick. But I think there's still got to be a mentality of, we're still in this. We can still get that second wild card spot. I don't mind them starting Fitzpatrick here because I think they still have a chance. They still have a slight chance to make some noise.
So let's assume, pick an NFC North winner.
An NFC North winner?
Yeah, pick one. Either Bears or Vikings.
Yeah, Bears. I don't know. I still go with the Vikings.
Okay. So the Bucks have to beat out 2 out of Seattle, Carolina, and Chicago to get to the playoffs. That's really hard from where they are.
Yeah.
And they're their defense is atrocious. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I get that they can improve. Do you think they have that much more of a chance to improve with Fitz than they do with Jameis?
For this season?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're a better team with Fitzpatrick. If you're Dirk Koetter and you're coaching for your job,
right,
and you need to make the playoffs for your job, then it's too early to give up. So yeah, I understand what you're saying about they're gonna have to leapfrog a bunch of other good teams. Though I don't think you can just say, well, let's ride it out. Let's go with Winston and see what we got in the future, because I don't think there's going to be a future for Dirk Koetter if they don't make the playoffs. So if you're in a situation where you're a first year coach and you got some time for John Gruden, you got 10 years, $100 million contract, then it's different. Right. If you're coaching for your career, this could be the only head coaching job he ever gets. I think you got to stick with the guy who's going to potentially lead you to the playoffs, even though those chances are pretty small.
All right. Well, you got the Bucs, I got the Giants. And what do we got here? 67% of the experts are with the Giants. 61% of the fans are with the Giants. So as a Giants fan, I hope I'm right. But we'll see. Next up, people coming in to visit before school. What's going on?
Yeah, they're just the house is slowly beginning to wake up. So I thought she was my daughter needs something, but no, she just want to say good morning.
All right. What time do they leave for school?
Not till about 7:30, not to my time, so about 45 minutes. We're really close to the school, so we don't have to get up for a bus or anything like that.
Oh, that's cool. We used to be like that. Now we're at bus. Now my son leaves at 6:40.
Oh my God! So he's gone already. He's been gone for an hour already.
He's been gone. My wife took him to school because long story, we don't have a bus here. It's a whole big mess, but whatever. Anyway, actually, like the bus in the morning comes at 6:02. Which we kind of thought was a little, overboard. So we were like, I don't want to baby my kid, but I'm not making him get on the bus at 6 o'clock.
That's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. All right. Back to football. Broncos, Chargers. Chargers favored by 7, over under 46.5. Let's see where the point spread is everywhere else. 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 46.5, 46. There you go. Nothing's changed there. All right. So this line seems like Joey Bosa apparently might play Sunday. I know we've heard this before, but he's practicing some, and there's the reports are that there's a possibility, and we haven't really heard that yet. So that would be a nice boost for the Chargers. Otherwise, this line seems low to me. The Broncos, they're 1-3 on the road. They had a bad loss to the Jets. They beat the Cardinals, so they killed the Cardinals. They lost at Kansas City by 7, and they made it. It was a 10-point game. They made it 7 with a late field goal before an onside kick. There's another bad loss somewhere. Like they get crushed by somebody. I don't know. This line seems low to me. I mean, 7. I see 7 points. I see a really good team on one side and a below-average team on the other, and the really good teams at home. And I know there's not much of a home field advantage, but I really like the Chargers here.
This is probably the game that you're talking about where you can't believe that I'm going with the Broncos.
Pick the Broncos, even with 7.
It's funny. I was doing my research last night, and I actually went on to NFLPickwatch.com and briefly changed my pick. Then I changed it back because I didn't want to give in to the power of John's suggestion. I think what is happening with Denver is that you're right. They're not a very good team, but they lose close games. So I don't think they're going to win this game. So, but look, you look at their losses. They lost to the Texans by 2. They lost to the Chiefs by 7. They lost to the Rams by 3. So those are all pretty good teams that they're barely losing to.
But they're 2 of them are home.
They lost to the Chiefs by 4. That one was at home, but they lost to the Chiefs by 7 on the road.
Yeah, they did.
So they're a team that loses close games. And you, for all the criticism that Vance Joseph gets, it's more about his game management than it is about for close-type games. That's one of the biggest concerns with Vance Joseph. So maybe that argument's a little thin, but I don't know. The Chargers are decent, but they're not great against the spread. I think they're 5-4 maybe against the spread. So it's not like they're always covering the spread. I don't know. I mean, I could see what you're saying. But at 7, I don't know. 7's a little
too much.
I think the Broncos can cover 7.
Okay. I mean,
I don't think it's insane. I don't think it's like drastically low. I think maybe if it was 6 or 5.5, I feel better about going to LA. But at 7, I like Denver here.
I want to see.
But I assume that everybody disagrees with me because the argument that you're making is a good one.
So the Chargers are 5-4 against the spread, 3-1 at home against the spread. Broncos are 3-5-1 against the spread, 2-2 on the road against the spread. So I wonder
how much of those games they're supposed to win. How much the spread favored them in those games? Like they were the favorites to win and they didn't.
The Broncos? How many times would they be favored? Do you think? Seriously?
Probably early in the season they were favored quite a bit. I would imagine.
Yeah. Okay. So let me look at that. Let me see who they played early in the season. Maybe on the road against the Jets they were favored. I could see that.
They're probably favored against. I mean, they're certainly favored against the Raiders, and they won by 1 point there. So that's probably one right there.
Against the Seahawks the first week they might have been, but I don't remember. We could check that on Pickwatch.
But they won that game anyway. So.
And they had the bad loss at Baltimore too. I mean, 27-14, but they were getting thumped kind of early. All right. So, yeah, we disagree on this one. Right now, 69% of the experts are on the Chargers, giving the points, 70% of the fans. I feel like there are more 70, high 60s, 70% agreements this week than most weeks. It's weird.
Which is weird because we're talking about how kind of close these games are and how there's a lot of good sneaky games.
Over under, by the way, 46.5. 6 of the Broncos' last 8 are under. 4 of the Chargers' last 5 are under. So, and I can see that. I could see the Chargers shutting them down pretty decently. So, I don't mind under at all in this game. All right, next up, we got how many left? 3, 4? What do we got? We got 4 left. We got to get moving. We've been on for a while.
Just kind of shooting the breeze here, man.
Let's go. Raiders, Cardinals. Cardinals favored by 4. Over under 40.5. Let's see if that's changed at all. I see a 5-point spread. I see 5.5 at the win. Over under 40.5, still staying pretty steady. So Byron Leftwich has been the offensive coordinator for 2 games. Apparently, Bruce Arians told him to funnel the offense through Fitz and David Johnson. In those 2 games, David Johnson 48 touches, Fitz 14 catches on 22 targets. Byron Leftwich appears to be listening, and the Cardinals are probably the better for it.
I was looking at NFL.com last night, so let me give you these stats real quick on David Johnson. First 8 games of the season. This is from NFL.com. 18.3 touches per game. Last week, 28 touches.
Yeah.
First 8 weeks, 75.1 scrimmage yards. Last week, 183 scrimmage yards. The first 8 games, 3.2 rushing yards per game. Last week, 4.7 rushing yards per game. So, yeah. Boy, it makes sense to use David Johnson when you got him, doesn't it?
And also – the percentage I read, I think it was Next Gen, 50 with Mike McCoy, 59% between the tackles, with Leftwich 41% between the tackles because David Johnson is a different kind of runner. He's not a slam it between the tackles kind of guy. So it makes sense. I mean, and
when you have that variety, he scored. And I can't remember which one. I know he scored a touchdown. It was a short touchdown last week, right up the middle. But when you have that variety, when you move him around, then you can when you need that short yardage touchdown gain, throw him up the middle because now
right.
It just makes sense.
He's a former wide receiver, get him out in space and let him create. Yeah, I agree. Raiders, on the other hand, 5 consecutive double-digit losses. I mean, and this sounds like I said to Ryan the other day. I hate to accuse teams of of giving up. It sounds like a lot of guys in this team are rolling over here. Like they basically hate where they are and hate Gruden or what they're doing. Right now, the players must know that they're giving up. And I don't know how you get motivated there. And I think the Cardinals aren't a good team, but I mean, I'm absolutely taking them here.
I mean, it's been that way all season long. I mean, that seems like Gruden gave up early on. I mean, trading Khalil Mack was the first indication. So yeah, it's a bad organization right now, and I don't see much reason to think they're going to do anything the rest of the season.
All right, last I saw you had the Raiders against the spread though.
Yeah, why did I have the Raiders against the spread? The Cardinals aren't very good either. So I think
this why do you want the Cardinals giving 5 to anybody or 4? Right.
I don't know. I don't. Maybe I'll go back and change that pick. Probably not. I don't really like to change my picks. But yeah, it's one of those games. It's going to be probably a really poorly played game, and the Cardinals may squeak it out. But I do feel pretty confident the Cardinals are going to win. So maybe by a field goal, and then if they win by a field goal, then I'm right on all accounts.
There you go. All right. So we have experts 63% Cardinals given the points. Fans 77% Cardinals given the points. Right now, by the way, over under I said it was low 40.5. 13 of the Raiders' last 16 games have been under. 9 of the Cardinals' last 13 have been under. Again, 40.5. That's super low. Eagles Saints. Man, I like this game. Saints favored by 8. You're going to see what the latest is. I see 8.5 now at Caesars and the win. Wow. 56 or 55.5 is the over under. Look, the Saints might be the best team in the league, right? I'm giving 8 to the defending Super Bowl champions. 8? Like, basically, I'm saying they're done, toast, see you later. I'm not willing to do that.
Yeah, I guess I'm not willing to do that either because I'm also going with the Eagles against the spread. But, I think, defending Super Bowl champions doesn't really mean a whole lot when you're losing to the Cowboys at home. It's a team that's just kind of mediocre. And, I don't know. I don't think you can look at the Eagles. I think that shine is kind of gone of like, oh, they're defending Super Bowl champions. They haven't played well this year for a lot of the year. And that loss last week to Dallas at home was just awful. Again, it's kind of like the Falcons versus the Browns. Really disappointing. They have a chance to get back in that division because the division's pretty weak with Washington on top, and they fall like that. I don't know. I think now you go to the Saints, and you're probably going to lose that game, and then you got Washington in a couple weeks, and then you go to Dallas, and you go to LA. Boy, that schedule, oof. And then you finish at Washington. I kind of think the Eagles are done, but at the same time, 8's a pretty big spread.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Eagles also been pretty bad against the pass this year, and as we know, the Saints start Drew Brees, so I could see like the Saints coming in and just destroying them. I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility.
Right, and if the Eagles are hurt in the secondary, they think they're going to get Jalen Mills didn't practice Thursday. They might get Sidney Jones back, but I mean it's tough. Saints are rolling, like I said. 5 of their last 6 wins by double digits. I mean they are dominating. They're not just winning.
Yeah,
it's just a lot of points for me. That's all. I think we could see a really good game and a shootout. And if I got to pick straight up, I'm picking the Saints. But I just think the Eagles are going to make this a tough one on them.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Saints schedule, and they've beaten like you said, by double digits. They've beaten some really good teams. They beat the Bengals. I'm not saying the Bengals are a really, really good team, but they destroyed the Bengals last week. They beat the Vikings by 10 a couple weeks ago. They beat the Rams by 10. I mean, so it's like, well, if you look at it like that, you're like, well, why am I picking the Eagles to cover 8 when if the spread was 8 against these good teams, they wouldn't have covered it. I do agree. I mean, I'm going with the Eagles too, but I can see that you saying like, why wouldn't the Saints cover 8?
Right. It's the desperate team theory, Josh. That's where I'm going to.
You love that desperate team theory. I love that you love that desperate team theory.
Yep. All right. So we're both going with the Eagles. On Pickwatch, we've got 50. Is that 59%? 50% of the. So it's a toss-up with the experts. 63% of the fans picking the Saints and giving the points. All right. Vikings Bears Sunday night. The spread is 3. Let's see if that still holds. I see 2.5 in some places. Over under 44.5. This is a good game. Right now, these are two defenses. I mean, Mac was back last week. These defenses, yards per play. Bears are 3rd. Vikings are 7th. I mean, there's some good offensive pieces on both teams, but this is a defensive game for me. And I think the over under reflects that's probably going to be the case.
Yeah. This is one of those tough NFC North battles. I know we've talked a lot about Trubisky this year and whether or not I don't know if you trust him or not.
I don't.
But he has been taking care of the ball pretty well lately. He's had a pretty solid season, if not better than that.
He's been up and down for me. He's had some huge games. He's missed his, the passing's kind of sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Coming into the year, now that we know about Trubisky, the way he's played through the first 10 or 11 games this year, would you say that he's exceeded your expectations for what you expected? Or has he been about what you think, or has he been worse?
I think he's about what I thought. I thought that the coaching change would be great for him and that it would make him more efficient. He's got some weapons around him. I don't think he's been that great. I mean, I love – I feel like we don't give enough credit to quarterbacks that run. We kind of look at it as this cute little addition to their game. It's huge that he can run like that. It makes up for so many of the passing shortcomings. This is the argument I have against Cam Newton. The people who kind of like to pick on Cam Newton talk about, his completion percentage, which has changed this year for sure. He's not that great of a passer. I agree. Cam Newton might be an average passer. He's also the best runner in the history of his position. And that's a big factor. It's not just like this little, the icing on the cake. It's a really big part of the cake. Yeah. And I think that's the same thing about Trubisky. He's so athletic that he makes plays that way. And that's enormous. So that's a big factor. As a passer, he's all right.
I'm trying to see. He's got really good yards per carry. It's 7.8.
He made big plays. He had that one touchdown against, I don't know if it was the Patriots or something. He ran all over the field. And, I mean, he helps a lot that way.
I think he's been he's exceeded my expectations a little bit from what I expected. Sorry.
Right. Okay.
But anyway, so
I'm fine.
I'm sorry. But I think in this particular game, I'm going with the Vikings. Coming off their bye. Yeah. I think helps. They've won 4 of their last 5. Minnesota does have one of the better pass defenses in the league. Like you said, Trubisky isn't a top passer, so I think that plays into them. And even though it's going on the road, I think I like Vikings +3.
I'm taking them too. I don't love it. I'm picking them because I have to pick someone. That's how I feel about this one. We've got 64% Vikings from the experts on Pickwatch, 53% Vikings from the fans. Pickwatch, people down there. The thing is, I've been so high on the Bears all year too. And I'm picking against them here. But if they win, I'd be fine with that. I like the Bears. I think the Bears are a fun playoff story because I think their defense can keep them in a game with anybody. So, I mean, I'd love to see Rams-Bears sounds like a fun game to me in the playoffs. Just to see which side, pushes the other around.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, Rams-Chiefs. Fantasy football. It's football Christmas here. I said fantasy football Christmas to someone yesterday, which it is. Over under 63.5, which is the highest in the history of the NFL. That's just awesome. Point spread's 3.5. Started at 2.5 when the game was supposed to be in Mexico City. Went up to 3.5 when it got moved back to LA due to field condition issues in Mexico City. So much for the 3 points to the home team. 1 point. This was 1 point for the home team. Literally 1 point. So the Rams won 5-1 in their last 7 against the spread. That's their dominance is looking shakier than it did. They had a tough game against the Packers. They lost against the Saints. Their secondary is really having trouble. This is obviously your fun game. I mean, if you didn't make this your fun game of the week, I don't know what I would have done.
What am I even doing?
Yeah. It's a great game. I can't wait. I've been waiting for this game for a month and a half. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. There's not even a whole lot of analysis you have to do in this game. It's just it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, you got 2 really good offenses and the Chiefs, a not so great defense from the Chiefs, and the Rams defense has been okay, but not the best ever. It's just it's one of those games we don't have to worry about the stats or analysis. Just sit back and watch, man. It's gonna be fun. Mahomes versus Goff. It'll be good.
I think that Mahomes. Look, saying Mahomes is going to destroy somebody is funny because he's been doing it to everybody all year, right? For a lot of teams. I think he's going to completely blow up the Rams secondary. I really do.
I'm still waiting for him to have kind of an off game or a bad game. Not even an off game, but a bad game. You're like, oh, right. Boy, Mahomes was terrible. And we just haven't seen that yet. And it's kind of crazy for a second-year player not to have those games. It's kind of crazy for any quarterback not to have those games. Even like Aaron Rodgers for an entire season not to have those games. But Mahomes has been so outstanding. Yep. It's kind of crazy.
He's very good. I mean, really, really, really good. His arm is unreal. And the weapon, I love the offense. It's just, they're so fun to watch. I mean, both teams are fun to watch. I mean, again, I love this game. And basic part of me, even though the game is now, when it was neutral field, I was going to take the points. Now that it's the Rams being home, it makes you think twice. I'm still going to take the points. I mean, I say if the Rams win, I think it'll be close. So you're going to give me 3.5, I'll take it. Yeah, and I think it's going over.
I think I had the Chiefs straight up. Yeah, the Chiefs straight up as well. So I think the Chiefs are going to win outright.
All right. We've got on Pickwatch 62% Chiefs from the experts against the spread, 56% Chiefs from the fans against the spread. So
a lot of people are picking them straight up then.
Yeah, our most popular.
Yeah.
Falcons 76%, Panthers 72%. Didn't I see a 77 somewhere? Hold on. Might have changed. Nah, that's it. For the fans, most popular for the fans, 77% each for the Panthers, Steelers, and Cardinals, all favorites. So if you wanted to be contrarian, if you wanted to pick against the Panthers, Steelers, and Cardinals, where would you go? I'd go Jags. From what you said, I think you might go Raiders. If you want to pick against one of those teams with points.
What was the question?
It was if you were going to pick against Panthers, Steelers, or Cardinals, you had to pick one to go against. From what your picks were, you'd pick the Raiders probably. Like if you wanted to be different, I would go Jags.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So
the Raiders.
All right, what else you got going
on? I had. Let me tell you real quick about this story I wrote. I wrote for a site called The Daily Dot, and I read a lot about YouTube. And I wrote a big story last week about a YouTube channel that interviews self-proclaimed time travelers. And there's the YouTube site is called Apex TV, APEX TV. So I wrote a big feature. I talked to the guy who runs a site who interviews time travelers, and I talked to a supposed time traveler named Noah from the year 2028, I think. We did an email interview. A lot of fun. Check it out on thedailydot.com about Apex TV on YouTube. That was a fun story.
Did he write you from 2028?
No, he can't get back. He can't get back to his time. I think the government is after him. He does have a chip implanted in his wrist, he says. This whole culture of this is a specific culture on this channel, the YouTube channel, but it's there's a lot of people that all their faces are pixelated, their voices are modified a lot of the time. They tell some similar stories about how they got here and how they would need to get back, but they can't. It's really, no matter what you believe about time travel, it's pretty interesting. It's interesting stuff. Maybe it's all ruse. I don't know.
I have to see this.
Check it out, man.
Absolutely. All right. I will be waiting for it. All right, folks. If you want to talk about football or time travel, Josh is on Twitter at Josh Katzowitz. I'm at JHalpin37, and our main account is at Pickwatch. As always, make your picks. Track everybody else's picks. NFLPickwatch.com. You can also, if you're watching this on YouTube, follow us on Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, please subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can get individual game discussions. I'll have those up later on Friday. That's all for today's edition of Pickwatch Live. Remember, 11:45 a.m. Eastern on Sunday after the inactives are announced. I will be on our Facebook page with a quick live stream, seeing how that impacts the games and going over final picks and what everybody else is picking. So that's it, everybody. For Josh Katzowitz, I'm John Halpin. Thanks for watching Pickwatch Live.